Please do that.
All right. Welcome.
Here we go.
Podcast world and those out there on Facebook Live. We are back. We've been on another vacation. You know, we done got old. We like taking vacations
I
now.
know, retirement life.
I guess. We're back with another episode of Things My Mother Never Told Me. And we got a return guest, Dr. Byron Douglas. What's up, Lefty?
What's up?
Tanya gonna read your bio. She's gonna read the Reader's Digest version of it since we read it before.
That's fine.
Let everybody get just a little bit of refresh memory, and then we're gonna jump into this.
All right. Again, like you said, we have a returning guest and much needed. We have Dr. Byron C. Douglas. He was born and raised in Detroit, Michigan, and is a product of the Detroit public school system. He received his bachelor's degree from Howard University in Washington, D.C., and his master's and doctorate degree from St. Louis University in St. Louis, Missouri. He's a clinical psychologist with a specialty in child and adolescent assessment and treatment, and maintains an Afrocentric focus in his work. Dr. Douglas has extensive experience with troubled and delinquent youth and has consulted for several area agencies that deal with children and youth. Dr. Douglas is the author of Stories for Our Children and More Stories for Our Children, books for African-American Christian families. These are unique books for children that address African-American history and culture from a spiritual perspective and provide practical lessons for life. Each book is wonderfully illustrated with depictions and reflect the strength and beauty of African-American people. All right. He's a school psychologist. He recently retired as a school psychologist at Ann Arbor Huron High School in Ann Arbor, Michigan. He's a member of Tabernacle Missionary Baptist Church in Detroit, where he serves as a Sunday school teacher and youth worker. All right, let's welcome Dr. Douglas.
I guess that was the Reader's Digest version, as in it was twisted around.
It was just so good.
How you doing, Doc?
I think I'm all right.
Good. Yeah, she said Detroit Public School, but she failed to mention the Cass Tech.
On purpose.
Yeah, I know. God, the jealousy in my own house. The hate. So what's been going on, Doc? You been all right?
Yeah, I've been good. You know, just kind of, I like to say that just thank God and keep moving.
That's right.
Amen.
I know that's right. We at that age where we all need to do that. Is this for our guests out there? I posted on my social media, but we're gonna reiterate. We're gonna talk about mental health, and we're gonna cover it over a wide range of areas. But the stuff that's been going on lately in the newspapers, stuff that has made the newspaper, is really disturbing. And we want you to give your expert opinion on some of the stuff that you've been seeing.
Okay.
So,
You guys, what?
Right.
Mass shootings, what?
well, no, just the stages where we can talk. We can start out talking about mass shooting, because I mean I think that's the number one issue in the newspapers. So if you want to give us your opinion on what you noticed.
Yeah, a couple of years ago, I wrote an essay entitled "It Ain't About Mental Illness," and it was addressing some of these issues around these mass shootings.
Mm-hmm.
Our society, especially people who consider themselves so-called conservative right wing, they only brought up the issue of mental illness when there was a mass shooting, when it was a white person doing the shooting. It had nothing to do with the fact that, well, maybe we need to limit, military style weapons. It had nothing to do with the fact that maybe these people have a lot of racist intent in their hearts. They're anti-Semitic. They're racist against Black and brown people. These people, all of a sudden, it's a mental health issue.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lone wolf issue.
Right.
And what I did was I wrote an essay talking about how mental health, mental illness has always been used politically, and has also been used to buttress a certain status quo, so that when this person walks into this synagogue and shoots people up, or he walks into this Black church in South Carolina, it's mental health.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Young Black guy does something, he's a criminal. Yeah. He's a gangbanger. He's a thug.
Right.
Muslim person does something, He's a jihadist. He's a terrorist.
Right.
There's not been one shooting done by Muslim extremists where people said, well, maybe it's a mental health issue.
Right. That's right.
Never heard that. And truth be told, most of these shootings happen outside the US anyway. With the exception of Uvalde, they haven't said much about that young man in Texas, but a Latino person does something, they're gang affiliated, or they're cartel affiliated.
Right, right.
We have shootings in our community way, way, way too much.
Right, without doubt.
Shootings involving 3, 4, 5 people getting shot or killed, people, different groups beefing with each other, and guns come out no matter who's around. Nobody has said that's a mental health issue.
Right. Never have.
And I contend that I'm not going to cloak racism with mental health. I'm not going to cloak racism with Christianity.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, I'm going to cloak my racism in this clear Christianity. No, you racist. These are some racist thoughts. These are some prejudicial attitudes that need to be addressed.
Right.
Right. Now,
Exactly.
People who are out here with the shooting and the fighting, yeah, there are some issues there, definitely. There are a lot of people out here who are rageful. There are people out here dealing with post-traumatic stress. We got serious anger management issues.
Right.
Issues around depression and anxiety, and loneliness, that needs to be addressed. But too often when we have these situations, we want to say, well, there's something special about this particular person. This is an isolated incident. No, right. It is not an isolated incident.
Right.
And our societal institutions have to step up to the plate and begin to address it.
Yeah.
Now, the strange thing is, what they don't talk about is there are a lot of police departments who don't want to see all these assault rifles out in the community. But a lot of their organizations don't say anything about it publicly, or they don't say it stridently enough, and confront these politicians who are passing these different laws around who should or should not have a weapon. Here's the funny thing about all of this. If you're saying I have a right as a citizen to own this rifle, so a 12-year-old's a citizen. So you don't hear them saying, hey, allow them to have it. We put regulations on a lot of different things, and we base it oftentimes on age, so-called age of maturity.
Right, right.
An 18-year-old is not mature enough to have an automatic, semi-automatic rifle.
Yeah.
A whole lot of 50-year-olds ain't mature enough to have.
Right, and to that point, there are so many, especially in rural America, so many people of the majority race, I'll call them, who give their children those weapons. And I'm talking about 12-year-olds and 10-year-olds, and have them out there shooting them, teaching them how to shoot them.
Yeah.
And then when they go shoot, when they on the news, it's like the young man that just did the thing in Illinois. This girl got on TV. I've been knowing him for years, and I never would have thought he would have the capacity to do something like that. But the police went to his house on 2 different occasions.
Yes.
Where they had threats, and they removed 16 knives.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, okay, you didn't think he had the capacity, but he was threatening people, threatening suicide and threatening other people in the household. So really, yeah, but go ahead to your point.
and it's just, no, you're right. And it's like, so I think there are a lot of times we either ignore signs or we're in denial about certain signs.
Because there are signs. That's what I'm saying. There are signs.
And this guy, he took the time to dress up like a female.
Yes.
And if you saw that picture, he had enough makeup on his face to cover the tattoos.
Yeah.
So it's planned. This was planned.
Right.
Now, why he felt the desire to commit a mass shooting remains to be seen at this point in time. But it was well thought out. It was planned.
Yeah.
He used that particular automatic rifle, abandoned it, and had another rifle in his car.
Right.
With another 50, 60 rounds of ammunition.
Right.
The situation in Uvalde, Texas, you had a monumental failure of law enforcement.
Right.
On every single level. Monumental failure.
Right. Right.
Reports come out now that there was an officer who saw him approaching the school and could have laid down some fire against him, but was supposedly waiting for an order to shoot.
Right.
And so we're seeing people looking for ways to absolve themselves of responsibility.
Yes.
I'm partial to children. It's like these are children who are vulnerable.
Exactly.
And they did not intervene for over an hour.
Yeah, just sat there late while he continued to shoot people.
Yeah. The Buffalo situation, this young man pulled up census data and looked at maps in the Buffalo area, and he pinpointed the Black community.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He pinpointed that particular store.
Yeah. And they said that there was a report that he shot a white man, the manager or something in the store, and apologized to him.
Yeah. and see, and that's the mindset of a virulent racist. Okay. Some people will say, well, racism is a mental illness. I don't go with that. Racism is philosophy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And there are those who are very extreme with the philosophy.
Right. Right.
And when we look at the Buffalo situation, the recent incident in Illinois, we look at the idiot down there who shot up the church in Charleston.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
These guys get taken alive.
And sometimes get taken out to lunch.
Yeah, get taken out to lunch. They get taken without incident. Okay. And see, this is historical because of the fear of Black people, Black males and Black females.
Mm-hmm.
The whole mindset is shoot first.
Right.
I guarantee you, if that was some Black guy running towards the school with a rifle, ain't nobody waiting for no orders.
No.
They're not doing that.
No.
Put it out there. That's correct.
Yeah. So, I mean, as a society, as a community, in my opinion, we have to defend ourselves, and we have to address the issues going on within our community.
Yes.
When it comes to mental health.
Right.
I talked earlier this week about the guy who went into the Subway sandwich shop right outside of Atlanta, killed one woman, critically wounded the other, and that woman was protecting her son, 5-year-old, and he shot them because he was upset over so-called too much mayonnaise on the sandwich. Okay. Now that brother got issues.
Yes.
Deep-seated issues. Stuff that has not been resolved in his life.
Right. Right.
Now, when I worked at the training school, that's been shut down now for several years, I always told the people, you have to deal with treatment and consequences.
Right.
You can't do one or the other. You have to do both.
Mm-hmm.
So a person like that who did something like that, yeah, he needs to be off the street.
Without a doubt.
He needs to be locked up. But while he's locked up, can you help him work through some of his issues?
Exactly. That's the problem. Too often we take, especially people of color, we take them and just throw them off in the corner and let them do their time and say, okay, now they can come back on the streets. And usually, if you go to prison and you get no help, you come out worse than you went in.
Yeah. Because society has moved on further. You're alienated.
Yeah.
Skills have, you don't have the so-called pro-social skills necessary to move forward.
Mm-hmm.
So you go back to what you know.
Right.
Now, as a community, and I believe this is an area that the church and the schools can have a significant impact, primary prevention and early intervention.
Mm-hmm.
And when I'm talking primary prevention, what are we doing to help teach children pro-social skills?
Mm-hmm.
How to communicate,
Mm-hmm.
how to deal with anger, how do you appropriately express when you're upset?
Right. Right.
If someone has done something to you, who to tell, where to go,
Yeah.
because too often we wait too late to intervene, or we
Right.
wait very late to intervene.
Yeah. Yeah. And the sad part is that for the most part, the only time in our community we hear, oh, you need to tell, you need to talk about it, is when it affects only us. When if I'm broadening the scope, of course, but it's just like when somebody does something, nobody wants to talk about it unless it affects them
Directly.
and
Yeah.
then they got a microphone in their face. Oh, y'all need to get out here and say something. But if they see something and it doesn't affect them directly, they're not talking.
Well, you see, we have this complex history. And what I mean by that, given our experience on the plantation and all the way through this society, early on, we were taught, don't snitch.
Right.
Okay, because certain people lost their lives because people snitched. Then Mark Vesey, when his plan revolt got sidetracked because of a storm, a couple of guys got cold feet and told.
Right. Right.
Okay. And people who told these things usually got some type of reward, for telling. And so we're brought up with this mindset, don't tell, don't say certain things.
Right.
Don't let these people know what you're doing. It's the same thing with kids. You know how when we was growing up, when we was little, and we were around, our parents were talking, all of a sudden they started spelling. Okay. And we don't know what they're spelling because we wasn't in spelling yet.
Right.
And then we got to that thing where, hey, grown folks talking, you stay out of this or you go away while we talk.
Right.
Because on the plantation, those who thought they was in charge would pump little black kids for information.
Okay.
Because children like to talk.
That's right.
Okay, what the child is. Children like to let you know what they know.
What they know. Right.
Very innocent.
Yeah.
Very innocent, but they like to repeat things. It's process of learning. They're learning and doing things. So they don't have a filter. And we have to teach them to have a filter. So they're putting out information. Right. So people learn, okay, we can't, no, little ones here, cut the conversation, or we get to spelling.
Right.
And so coming up with that cultural mindset, now we got people who are doing damage in their own community.
Right.
And we're told, don't say nothing.
Yeah.
But everybody knows if somebody breaking your house, you want to know what's happening.
You want to know what's happening, right? You want everybody to know what's happening.
And the drug dealer next door that's been your friend, grew up with, and you don't tell on them.
Yeah, and I would look at it too in a way. Let me try to talk to this person. Because see, what we have to do too is utilize our relationships with each other to support and check each other.
Right. That's right.
I can remember when my mother was developing that Alzheimer's, and I had to move off the block. There were a lot of people who knew her and looked out for her, but it only takes one person.
Yeah.
And I couldn't take that chance, and I had to move her.
Yeah.
So we have to get back to community where we are knowing each other, we are talking with each other, we are looking out for each other.
Right.
That can help. That can help with mental health.
Yeah. And I'm glad you said it, because I was going to say, if anybody that's listening, it might say, well, what this got to do with mental health? Well, it has everything to do with it, because like you're saying, the things that we do that affect us negatively from a mental health standpoint are usually things that we've learned, or that we witnessed, and over time we may have learned them, not necessarily them being intentionally taught to us, but we learned them because we witnessed them.
Perfect example. Children in war zones play war games.
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to understand their world. Children use play in order to understand their world,
right,
as best they can.
Right.
Children who are abused physically, sexually, emotionally, they turn that into a game. It's from the sense that they will start playing other children that way.
Okay.
Give you real kind of funny example. A friend of mine told me one day, she told her sister, your baby told on you. She said, what you mean? She said, your baby told on you. I said, what he do? She said she was laying on the couch because she was babysitting her nephew. He grabs her by the collar and says, go to sleep. Go to sleep. And then he said, now you do me. 2.5, 3 years old.
Right. And it's a game.
Yeah, he turned this into a type of game, a play. He's playing. Okay. And just like I say, a child who's witnessed war, who's witnessed that type of destruction, that's what they're going to do. Many of them are going to play that out. Children who see certain things in the community. I can remember watching little kids coming around with fake little jewelry, little boys, fake little jewelry, and play money because they're the dope boy. They're the dope man.
Right. Right now they ain't playing Batman and Robin, they playing dope boy.
Yeah. So all these things impact us in terms of our mental health. All the technology we have, it's a double-edged sword. Okay. So we got all this technology, yet people are still very lonely from the standpoint of being able to communicate with each other, develop relationships, and be supportive of each other. Isolation is very detrimental to mental health.
Yes.
And as a minister, it says don't forsake the assembling of yourselves together. Right. There's support in that.
Yeah. Without a doubt.
There's a degree where people can help each other. People may understand a bit of your journey and then offer, the necessary help.
Yeah. Right. And so a question for you. How would you recommend we combat this?
Yeah, you were saying something about the church. How can the church really confront this?
In my opinion, one of the things the church can do is recognize mental health as an issue. And then look for ways that they can begin to provide spaces for people to come in and get support, a non-judgmental space where people can come in with the help of professionals to deal with these different issues. Even several years before, I wrote a thing, Overcoming the Pain, and I talked about sexual abuse and how so many people in our community, male and female, who've experienced that coming up and have sat on it.
Right.
And when you sit on these types of things, sooner or later it's going to come out.
Right.
Come out, and it can come out in real funky ways.
Right.
And that we have to begin to, number one, protect these children and provide a space for people who've had that experience, who can talk about it and work through it. And we're talking about mental health, community health. As men, we have to address the I'm calling them lessons because that's what they were. Lessons we learned about how we treat our sisters.
Right.
The language we use.
Yeah.
The patriarchal mindset that we developed. And it develops at a very, very early age.
Right.
And it's in all of our institutions. It's in the church.
Yes.
Okay.
Definitely.
And we have to address that.
Yeah.
We have to talk to our young brothers about how do you address a young lady.
Right.
One of the things that I've talked about years ago in dealing with groups is that, we're quick to call a young lady a hoe or a freak. Nobody asks, okay, why are you doing that? And if she's doing certain things, why is she doing it?
Right.
What happened to her? I know a lot of young people who have had some very traumatic situations, and they learned how to deal with that opposite gender based on what they're going through and what they saw.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly.
If this man is hitting this woman one moment and the next moment they hugged up, that child sees, okay, this is how relationships go.
Right.
And then that's when you see the repetition go from generation to generation.
Right. And I think, not to interrupt you, but I think that's an important place to put a pin, because we need to realize that our children are watching us all the time.
Yeah.
And the biggest lessons they learn from us are the ones that we are not consciously trying to teach them.
Yeah.
Because they see what we do and they reenact what they see us doing.
Yeah. And they may even if they grow up, they may do it unintentionally.
Right.
I worked with a young man at Maxie who talked about growing up in a dope house. People who raised him, were addicted. He talked about waking up and somebody passed out next to him. He don't know who this person is.
Yeah.
And then growing up, he was like, I ain't gonna never do this. I swore up and down, I ain't gonna do it. He said, then I wound up being a dope man.
Yeah.
So we do have to be aware. And we have to also be honest with our children. If we make a mistake about something, there's nothing wrong with telling a child, I'm sorry.
Right. That's right.
My bad, because you're modeling that behavior.
Yeah.
And as a church, the church is a place of hurting people who are getting better, who are healing, so that they can then help others to heal. But as a church, we need to recognize that and then create opportunities for people to work.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. And this is why you have so many people getting upset every time something happens, every time a shooting happens, every time this mishap happens. What's what come out their mouth? Our thoughts and prayers are with you.
Right. That's right.
Our thoughts and prayers are with you. I don't want to hear that. I don't hear it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And some of the people saying it don't even know what it means.
Yeah. And what did James say? Faith without actions is dead.
It's dead. That's right. That's right.
Okay. Yeah. Pray for me now. And as you pray, come over here.
Check on me.
Yeah.
Right.
So all of these things encompass mental well-being.
Right. And I think on your point of male folks trying to be a better example. I mean, a lot of times we get so hung up on me that we don't take opportunities to help somebody. It's just like when you gave the example of the young lady who might be going down the wrong path. Most guys are gonna say, well, let her go. because
Yeah.
I'm about to get my freak on.
Yeah.
And so that's all we're concerned about. We're not concerned about we know it's not helping her, but we don't care.
Yeah.
Because we only care about what we getting out of it. And we need to be honest enough to say that we need to stop being me first. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But see, again, we were raised like that. And when I say
Right.
raised, not just the home, but the street, the community,
The community.
the media.
Yes.
Okay. You know, I do a thing on messages and images.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We gather messages and images from all over the place. And like I say, from the media, from the home, from the school, from the community, from the government. All right. We're taking in all these messages.
Yeah.
And when you look at us as Black people, okay, we have taken in the message of the stereotypes that have been put on us.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yet those stereotypes are hundreds of years old. And it gets repeated from generation to generation to generation. You know, these police shootings, when it concerns us, it shoot first.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that didn't just happen.
Right.
We can go back from the inception of the so-called police force with the night patrollers. You know, their whole purpose was to control those on the plantation,
Mm-hmm.
was to check the so-called recalcitrant slave, track down runaways, administer discipline when necessary. And you're doing this to a people who you don't fully acknowledge as a human being.
Right.
You're right.
And so that mindset goes down from generation to generation to generation, because I always argue that every major institution in this nation has perpetuated the myth of white supremacy and Black inferiority.
Mm-hmm.
Every major institution.
Right. Right.
The government, the educational system, the economic system, the church.
Truth.
All the way through.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so another part of mental health is combating that with knowledge and understanding. You know, this is why there are people in this country who don't want certain histories to be taught.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You know, I think, you know, in spite of what somebody might think about Detroit and the things we go through in Detroit and things we witnessed growing up, one of the things Detroit did was it showed us a lot of Black power.
Yes.
From the standpoint of people who had ability, people who were out there, people who spoke their mind, people who spoke truth to power. So that a lot of people from Detroit, you grow up and you go somewhere else, you done been validated.
Right. That's right.
You don't need white society to validate you.
Exactly.
And so our children, we have to teach our children who they are, whose they are, and that no white person, no white institution validates you.
Right. Exactly.
And which makes you less susceptible to kissing somebody behind, to trying to look for their acceptance, because you know who you are.
Right. Without a doubt.
And you've been taught the struggle.
Yeah.
You know.
Exactly. And you know, I know I keep segueing. When you talked about the educational system, and so, you know, you and I talked the other day, and we talked about this whole thing with this critical race theory and the not wanting to teach certain things in schools, and that all ties into that, because and it ties into the mental health aspect, because they're saying, oh, if we put this in the schools and teach our little kids, they're going to feel guilty, they're going to not like being white, and they're going to blah 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 blah. But at the same time, you saying, but you Black kids, whatever happened to you, so what had happened to you? We ain't concerned. We ain't concerned about it.
Get over it.
Yeah, get over it.
Not only that, but we're not going to talk about it.
Right, now you're going to talk about it.
Yeah.
It didn't happen. And you remember we talked about them trying to change in Texas, it seems to be the leader of all this nonsense, trying to change the slave trade into, what was it, involuntary relocation or something?
Yeah, some garbage. Now, a third grader will understand slave trade quicker than they'll understand involuntary,
Relocation.
relocation.
Because adults don't understand that.
Yeah, as opposed to, let's be honest, this is what happened. This is how it happened.
Right.
Now, if we discuss that, then maybe we can begin to help children to think critically and start problem solving.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
How do we fix what has been broken?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
How do we redevelop a society?
Yeah.
Right. And if somebody feels bad, they'll learn to work through it. We can help them work through it.
Right.
Well, anybody care about how bad we felt.
Right. And the sad part about it is that most of these young kids, growing up, they feel bad, but not from a standpoint of oh, let me go jump off a bridge, but from a standpoint of what can we do so this doesn't happen again.
They feel some empathy.
Right, right, empathy, and that's where they are. They trying to make them out to be victims, when the only way they become victimized is by their parents.
Yeah, telling them
that they're a victim because they learned about something that happened, and the sad part, well, this happened 100 years ago. No, some of this stuff happened 30 years ago.
But here's the problem: what happened 100 years ago, 400 years ago, impacts today.
Yeah,
because that mindset of white superiority, Black inferiority, just came down generation to generation to generation to generation.
Right. Still being taught.
These lessons have been repeated.
Yeah.
We don't even talk about what happened to Native Americans.
Right.
We got this whole history, and like I always say, history is complicated. History is messy. People want to talk about, you got white women want to talk about Susan B. Anthony and the right to vote and the things they went through. Well, Ida B. Wells was in the middle of it.
Right.
And he didn't want her involved.
That's right.
And the white woman's argument back in the day was, how you going to let a Black man vote, but not a white woman?
That's right. That's right.
And we didn't have a vote, really. After Reconstruction was decimated, we still had no vote. Yet in the document, it said we had the right to vote.
Right.
So this is all messy. You had Black cavalry fighting Native Americans.
Yeah.
On behalf of a supremacist government.
Yeah.
But
real quick, the sad truth is that they allowed Native Americans to have slaves.
Yeah. And I said, here's the crazy thing too. You had that going on, yet you had so many runaways trying to get to Florida because Native Americans and Africans started forming free communities.
Yes.
So I think that's why I like history so much, because it's so complex.
Yes, it is.
And so messy. And if we learn it, it can help with the critical thinking. But see, when you start getting into selective storytelling, selective history, and you're going to put America up as the greatest, the best, et cetera, you leave yourself open to all this hypocrisy.
Yeah.
And being confronted on this hypocrisy.
Right. Right.
So when we start looking at health, at mental health, at caring for each other.
Caring, there you go.
We got to start with truth.
Right. That's a good place to start, ain't it?
Yeah. Let's start with the truth. Let's talk about, how do we heal? How do we, how do we deal with reparations? It's a legitimate issue. How do we go about helping to make people whole?
Right.
Our community needs it. All of these communities need it.
Yeah.
Like we said at the very beginning, nobody ever talked about mental health and the violence that may be going on in our community.
Right.
Mhm.
That's
Never
right.
addressed it,
That's right.
never addressed it.
Yeah.
When Black people were dealing with addiction, it was criminalized.
Mm-hmm.
White folk, prominent white folk, especially so-called middle class white folks, started dealing with the whole opioid addiction. It became a medical issue.
Right. A medical emergency.
Yes, it's let's look at treatment. Where's our compassion?
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
All of this
that
funding.
that mindset, again, it goes back 400 years, where you begin to say, who is important and who isn't.
Mhm.
Now, all this talk about mental health, now society wants to, and the government, they want to pass legislation and we're going to provide funding now. For the longest, whenever communities talked about budgets and cutting things
Yes.
and paring down, one of the first things that went was services for children.
Right. Right.
Oh, why are you cutting services for children? Why are you taking that away?
Right.
Now you want to say, well, the children need this, the children need that. And if you think about it, as a nation, generally speaking, we've almost moved past Uvalde.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's not on the first page anymore.
Yeah, and we're talking about children, Sandy Hook, children.
Yeah.
Show you what goes on politically. Mike Pence, Jesus said, a tree by its fruits. That's all I'm gonna say about Mike Pence on that. Mike Pence was out of Indiana. There's a Black community, I think it was called East Chicago, Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. They built this housing project on contaminated land,
Mm-hmm.
contaminated playgrounds. Black kids being affected by that. And what was he, governor in Indiana at one time?
To me. Mhm.
We was something. I don't.
Yeah, had nothing to say about that.
Right.
Nothing.
Right.
Absolutely nothing to say about that. Flint.
Mm-hmm.
People ain't talking about Flint. All right, you poison a community.
Yeah.
Even Ford said the water was bad for our parts.
Right. Exactly.
We're not going to use this water source anymore.
But y'all keep drinking it.
Yes, and you talk about the lead, the lead poisoning and stuff. So we have to make our children the priority. And, and take care of hurting adults.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because these children who are hurting, they're going to grow up and be hurting adults.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
One thing I want to make sure I mention, oftentimes when something happens to the children or something happens in the community, you oftentimes hear people say they'll never get over this.
Right.
This will be with them for all their lives. That doesn't help.
That's not,
Okay.
and it's not true.
Yeah, it ain't true. It's not so much that they'll never get over it, is that with the proper support,
Treatment.
they can work through it,
yes.
and that it does not dominate their lives.
Right.
A child gets abused at 5, 6, 7 years old, may go through years of abuse. The issue is finally addressed. And then you say, well, they'll never be the same. They'll never get through this. Well, they may live to be 80, 90 years old.
Right.
So you're going to tell me that they got to go decades and suffer this pain, as opposed to getting the appropriate support, the appropriate treatment,
Right.
and then helping them to move on. It doesn't mean that you ignore what happened or that they have to deny or ignore what happened. It's like when you broke your arm when you was little and you go by that tree when you're 30 years old. Hey man, you remember when I broke my arm here?
Right.
I'm good, but yeah, that's a thing I had to go through.
That's right. And the sad part is that when it comes to physical health, we talk about preventative care all the time.
Yeah.
When it comes to mental health, we talk more about picking up the pieces than we do about treating it on the front end.
Yeah, preventative. Yep. Early intervention, primary prevention.
Right.
Yeah, and like you mentioned earlier, there are always signs.
Yeah.
Signs. So that it could help prevent some of this destruction that happens later on in life. We were watching a documentary about incest in the home.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, the little boy was abused by both of his brothers. And his father was abused also. And the child did role play. You know, he was spanking, he was doing certain things to a female.
Yeah.
And all these but then when the son when one of the brothers had children, the uncles were also abusing his child.
Mm-hmm.
He never told them that that he was being abused by his brothers. But then the child, as he grew up, he confronted the issue because he started seeking help for himself. Mm-hmm. And he confronted his father and he told his mother about it. And like we said, but he is dealing with it and he's getting himself some help.
Yeah, yeah. And hopefully that will help to break the chain.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Because the brothers did end up going to jail.
Well,
the uncles were going to jail.
Right. Well, in that story, the sad part about it is the biggest abuser of the boy was his uncle. And he was a cantor in the church.
Yes. Yeah.
And so everybody came to his defense and they even raised money for his defense. So he wound up pleading guilty to misdemeanor.
Yeah.
And so they gave him time served. So the point is that when we know we got these demons, these monsters out here doing bad things, instead of addressing it as a mental issue, we just want to sweep it under the rug.
Yeah.
And concern ourselves more than, well, they've done so much good, but what about the harm they're doing?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you know, go ahead, Laf.
No, I agree. You all I agree with everything you all are saying. And to me, that's where, a church could help establish parenting classes.
Mm-hmm.
How to protect the child. And a space for whether it's this mother or this father who can go someplace and say, something happened to me and I need to work through it.
Right.
Right. Now, as a Black psychologist, I know there's always been reports that Black folk don't seek therapy. And that's never been my experience.
Mm-hmm.
Whether I was working at Maxie or in the schools, oftentimes when people feel that you will listen to them, hear them, help provide some problem solving,
mm-hmm.
they're gonna tell other people.
Yeah. And
then people, that's where that trust and that relationship comes into play.
Right.
And then people seek you out.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I've had kids say, my brother told me to look you up when I got to this school.
Mm-hmm.
This ninth grader.
Yeah.
Right. Or somebody saying, hey, Dr. D, my cousin is coming here next year. You make sure you look
mm-hmm.
out for him, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, seek people you can trust. Yeah.
Well, a lot of time with young people, if we take adults out of the way, they will try to seek, like you said, help. In however way they think they, a listener there, somebody who's going to, try to guide them and direct them, because they ain't getting it at home, at least not like they need it.
Yeah, they're either not getting it at home or they're not getting it from certain people in the community who they feel they should be getting it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Exactly.
And a lot of homes, the parents are hurt.
Yeah.
The parents are hurt, right.
So in my opinion, we can help change a lot of this.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be work. We got to stem what's going on so that we can make it better for generations. I always felt that whatever it is our ancestors did, whether it was revolt, whether it was just maintain, whether it was run, whatever they did it because they wanted it better for those who were coming after them.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And we have to embrace that mindset.
Yeah.
what we are doing, we need to do so that it's better for those who are coming after us.
Right.
Mhm.
And for sure, if we don't change, if we don't change what we're doing, it might not be many coming after us.
That's very true.
Well, you know what? I came up in a home where I had a close relationship with my mother, and I was also a victim. And I told my mother, even though he told me not to tell. And the mother ended up taking him to court. My mother
Yeah.
trusted me. She believed what I said, and she ended up taking him to court.
Yeah. And see, here's the thing too, though, people do. They say believe, like if somebody says something happened to him, believe. When somebody says something happened to him, listen to him.
Right.
Mhm.
Listen and investigate.
Yeah.
For all the cases I had to deal with, there were some cases where stuff was not true.
Right.
Mhm.
There were some cases like that. Majority of cases, no, it was true. The point was listening.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be in denial.
Right.
Listen.
Yeah.
Listen respectfully. Now let's investigate.
Yeah.
Mhm.
When a child feels like you're going to do something, that you're not going to just
Right.
blow them off
Mhm.
or say, no, that person couldn't do that,
Yeah.
or that person wouldn't do that, then that child will be more reluctant to say anything the next time.
That's right. Exactly.
And we have to listen. We have to listen to them. I got a lot of stories.
Well, on a global scale, the reason why so much abuse existed in the churches was because when the children went to their parents and told them, they said, "But that's Father so and so.
Yeah,
we don't want to get him in trouble. You just keep that quiet."
Yeah.
And so now the abusers have been empowered to keep abusing.
Yeah. Oh, they say, I don't believe that.
Oh, I don't believe that.
Yeah, I don't believe it.
Now, I'm gonna say something that might, well, I hope it makes some people think. We got this whole issue about abortion, and people have their views on it, whether it's, it should happen, whether it shouldn't happen. We can talk about that for days. But the Southern Baptist Convention, those churches,
Mm-hmm.
they had a big abuse scandal.
Yeah.
All this stuff is coming out. Now, I guarantee you, there have been a bunch of ministers up in that organization who railed against promiscuity, premarital sex,
Mm-hmm.
abortion. I would just like to ask them, given all these little girls and boys y'all molested and raped, how many abortions did y'all pay for?
That's right.
That's
right.
Because you ain't gonna tell me nobody got pregnant, given what y'all been doing.
And them kids, and ain't no kids around. One of the things that the pro-choice people are saying is that the whole abortion issue is really nothing about religious acceptance or belief. It's more to do with the haves and the have-nots.
Yeah.
Because if you're a person of means, you can go get an abortion.
Yeah.
And won't nobody know nothing about it, except you, the person, the doctor.
Yeah.
But if you don't have any means, then now you got to go to this clinic where everybody know your business. And so now it becomes it's always it's race and it's classism.
Yeah.
Because if you do something for people, you're a socialist. And oh, that's bad. But the same people saying it's bad say they believe in God. And scripture tells us that we're supposed to look out for our neighbors and help.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so they spread that whole "we don't want to help you" thing across the whole spectrum, except when
While getting help.
While they getting help. Right. The worst kind of socialism that ever existed. Their jobs.
Yeah. They're getting help and they're getting breaks.
Right. Lifetime health care.
Yeah, they're getting government assistance.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So there are a lot of things we have to come to terms with in our society. There are things we can do for ourselves within our community, and there are things we can do to push the larger society to address the needs of the people.
Mm-hmm.
How much time we got?
Go ahead.
4 minutes.
It's 4 minutes, but go ahead. Say what you gotta say.
Okay. So, voting is important.
Yeah.
Advocacy is important, you know, speaking truth to power and confronting power.
Yes.
You know, these things are important.
Right.
I mean, Frederick Douglass said it a long time ago, power concedes nothing without a demand.
Right. Right.
So
Mhm.
those who are jockeying to try to maintain their power, they're not going to just willingly give it up.
Right.
You know, so they're going to attack your right to vote. You know, and we have to understand that you have to vote on a local level,
right.
and a national level, but you have to vote on a local level because they're trying to put things in place right now to deny your vote. You vote for this person or this cause, and they tell you, well, our legislature said that vote wasn't fair. Y'all can't have that.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and so we have to get serious about, if we say this is a system that's worth saving, then, but it needs some radical changes without a doubt.
Right.
Mhm.
If we're saying that, if we're saying that it needs change, then we have to look for ways in which we can begin to impact that system.
Right. And you know,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Now, if we decide that we want a whole new system, okay, we got to look at that too.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. Because what I was going to say is that, you know, just with this just redistricting they just did,
Yeah.
It's amazing, you know, and they had the little spoke in a bipartisan group that sat down and said, oh, in the courts, oh, this districting is the best possible districts that we can have. But it's funny, the last 3 times they did the redistricting, the Democratic districts became more Democratic, and the districts that were mixed became more Republican.
Yeah.
They moved those Democrats out of those districts. So
Yeah.
now they got these Republican strongholds now,
Yeah.
where it once was a diverse community, where you may have had a close vote. Now you got an overwhelmingly conservative district.
And, you know, in my opinion, there are certain people in this country who are trying to recreate the South African apartheid system, because you are having such significant demographic changes in this nation. You have a bunch of right-wing people who say, well, we want to keep the power.
Right.
You know, because they've been, again, generations raised with the belief and the support that they are supposed to be the ones in power.
Right.
You know, and some of them back it up with political philosophy. Others back it up with religion.
Mhm.
Right.
You know, this is God ordained.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, I've never seen so many people speaking for God. You know, people who know the mind of God.
Yes.
You
Yes.
know, as opposed to listening.
Yeah.
You know, to God, and really, really looking at, you know, people want to talk about what did Jesus do.
Mhm.
You know, this isn't the Christian way, this, that, and the other. You know,
Lean into
Jesus
their own
wasn't an
understanding.
American.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
You know, so we can, to me, it's all linked: the spiritual health, mental health, physical health. You know, that's being holistic,
Mhm.
and we have to, again, to address it all. I got one question for you, Rev.
Yes, sir.
Where you think Durant going?
Man, I almost want to classify that as a mental health issue. I have no idea, sir. None.
Okay.
You know, because I'm glad you segued into something a little lighter. Because when they made that Rudy Gobert deal,
Yeah.
they put the Durant deal in the stratosphere.
But unless Brooklyn says this, say, look, Utah, Minnesota, y'all made a bad deal.
Well, it's too late. They didn't make, the thing about this is that the Nets believe that deal was the best thing that could have happened to them.
Well, that's going to be real interesting.
Yeah,
because somebody got to be able to say, look, just because you made a bad deal, I mean, I'm gonna make it bad.
But you know how executives are.
Yeah.
All it takes is one.
Mhm.
That's why these salaries where they at. All it takes is one person to say, I'm gonna do something stupid.
Now it's gonna be real interesting if neither him or Irving gets traded and they there for another year, they might mess around and win something. No. And, then walk away.
Well, unless Kyrie Irving decides that he wants to go and show the world that he can win a championship, I don't think that's going to happen because he's only committed to him.
Yeah. Now, my thing with Kyrie or anybody in that type of situation, basketball ain't got to be the most important thing in the world.
No.
But if you're out there, do what you're supposed to do, what you can do.
Right.
Why are you out there?
If they paying you $47 million, do your job.
Yeah. Play ball. You know, the parents should say, if you don't like it, do it well, get it over with.
That's right. But if you're gonna take that money, do your job. You know, yeah. I when I was with the IRS,
even the Lord said, do it to your best of your ability.
Best of your ability.
So if you got a monster crossover, you're supposed to use that.
Right. Martin said, if you're gonna be a street sweeper,
yeah,
be the best. And so, you know, because there's no way I would have lasted 30 years at the government if I wasn't doing my job.
Yeah, you know.
So
feeling bad about it and like I'll do it halfway and you know,
right.
Work. Yeah. I might finally watch the Pistons now. I don't know.
Well, they looking like they're trying to do something.
Yeah.
They got a guy in the office who tends to look like he want to make some things happen. So we'll see how that go.
And I tell you, you know, as far as I don't know what the man's life is like outside the court, but my favorite player on the court is Kawhi Leonard. Yeah, he just come here, just say, "Excuse me."
Well, you know what? He reminded me of you, and what's it, Bernie and Bernie? Yeah, come in, do your job, go home.
Yeah,
no time for all this mess.
Yeah. Okay, take this on the way. Okay,
right. I'm gonna leave this with you, so you don't forget I was here. But yeah, that's what it reminded me of.
I remember when he blocked Thompson's shot. Don't stay when they was playing in Toronto. He just blocked it and walked away.
Right.
He didn't flex. He didn't make all kind of noise. He didn't make no faces. He just blocked it and just, you know,
went on where he had to go.
Yeah.
Too many folks don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And the sad part is that because you said that, I'm gonna say that's what leads us back into mental health issues, because everybody ain't gonna let you flex on them and just walk away.
True.
Because, you know, the last thing we'll let you go, that guy who got killed in Ipsy, like you're saying, they say he's a comedian, and the people, he said something about somebody, and they posted on his site, we don't like what you said, and we coming for you.
Yeah.
And then right after they said, somebody drove up and shot him.
Yeah. Now, scripture says two things. It says, insofar as it is up to you, be at peace with all men.
Right.
Be at peace.
That's right.
Peace.
And so far as it is up to you.
That's right.
So, you know, if you at peace and you handling your business and somebody want to start something, you know, you have a right to self-defense.
Right.
But you ain't out there starting nothing.
That's right.
You know, the scripture says, live a peaceful life, you know, handle your business, you know, take care of orphans and widows.
Yeah.
You know, but like Jesus did, you speak truth to power, and you confront the status quo.
That's right.
Yeah.
All
right.
Yeah, you got to be doers of the word. But I wanted to make one note too. A lot of millennials that I see too, and that we have had even on our show, and they in these not even high power jobs, but they are seeking clinical help for their mental.
Yeah, they are.
So that's moving forward. So that's one thing I want. You know, not all of us are they are seeking just from the stresses of their jobs and addressing those that over them.
Yeah, these young folks are when they see something wrong, they try to get it fixed.
Okay, that's a good thing.
That's a good thing. Now it goes back to your earlier statement about a safe space for it to happen.
Yeah.
And I think going to your other point, so often why we think that Black folks don't seek mental counseling or whatever is because we do and we don't talk about it.
Yeah.
We ain't on the news talking about it. We may be, to some other folks, like you said, you have people who recommended folks to you or recommended you to folks where you would check on the people, but they were doing it behind closed doors in a safe space.
Yeah. You got to have a safe space,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and what I liked was Simone Biles and Naomi Osaka
Yes.
did.
Yes.
Yes.
You know, they were like, look, you know, we put them out there, society puts them out there to be performers, and that's all we care about is the performance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they're saying, in order for me to perform, I got to be mentally right.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
That's
If
right.
I'm not mentally right, I'm not going to risk my life to entertain you.
Exactly.
There you go.
Exactly. And Simone Biles especially said,
Yeah.
what I'm doing, if I make one wrong move,
Yeah.
it could be my life, or at least my quality of life.
Yeah. So it's like,
yeah. So forget you.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
That's what
she
I'm
is like,
saying.
I have to take care of me.
Yeah.
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 Our health is our wealth.
Yeah,
It ain't about the money. Our
right.
health is our wealth.
Right. And for sure, if we don't take care of us, we ain't gonna have no wealth at all, without a doubt.
Mm-hmm.
So Doc, go ahead. Make your last.
You know, as a minister and as a sister in the church, you can't be at your best if you're not also taking care of yourself.
That's
Exactly.
right. That's right.
You know,
Mhm.
so
Well,
like
like
this
this,
time to step back, Reverend.
that's right. Well, like they say on the airplane, when that mask drop down, put yours on first.
Yeah.
Because you can't help nobody if you can't breathe.
Yes, sir.
Doc, I thank you for coming on here talking about this. This is a deep subject, and like I said, we could talk about this for 3 weeks and still never really broach the surface.
Well, we'll make another time to get together. You just let me know.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We'll do this again. We had a group, the Wishing Well Foundation. They deal with kids who parents are incarcerated.
Yeah.
And so they deal with their mental health.
Mm-hmm.
And we had them on a couple times, and you know, they do a charity golf outing. It's actually this Saturday where they raise money so they have programs to help these young people.
Mm-hmm.
And so we want to keep this as an ongoing topic because it's not going away.
No, sir.
And you know, we also had a young lady on one of the reverends in our church who wrote a book on what
is that?
domestic violence.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Domestic violence in the church. Especially so
yes,
in the Christian home. So so we it's a subject we need to talk about. You know, we can have all the fun stuff, but we need to talk about some real stuff, some serious stuff too.
Yeah, and we can talk about that domestic violence starts with relationship violence all the way back in the teen years.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I've had to deal with. I've done couples therapy in school. You know, dealing with, hey, don't put your hands on her.
That's right.
And the converse, you don't have a right to put your hands on him. That's right. You know? But again, that's what they learned, and you know, we're helping them work through that.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes, sir. We appreciate you.
Oh yeah.
I appreciate y'all, and I'll see y'all the 21st next month. If not
21st next month. Yeah, if not soon. Tell the wife we said hello.
Yes.
Will do.
All right now. Take care,
have
bro.
a good one.
All right now.
See you, Brandy's.
That was